Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. As always, I am here with my co-hosts, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair, and I am the League Dad. But how are you guys doing? Another week, exciting. I think for me it was at least exciting. Finish to the lock-in tournament. Team Liquid, let's go. We all voted for them. But what'd you guys think? Did y'all have a good weekend?
Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend. It was a lot of fun watching the games. Definitely unexpected result, at least being as one-sided as it was. On top of that, classes started back up, so getting back into the swing of that. But other than that, pretty good.
Nice, man. Wait,
Yeah.
you didn't, Alistair, real quick, you didn't tell us about the lottery you just won. Because if you guys aren't.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, he said don't worry about it. Let's just say for you guys not watching right now, his room looks pretty nice right now.
Yeah, my weekend was pretty good too. What did I even do? I went to Santa Cruz. That was nice. Went to the beach. Apparently the food's not very good there. So if you are listening and in Santa Cruz, please let us know what some good food down there is.
Nice.
Cause I went with a local and they're like, I don't know what to eat really, but yeah. So that was cool. Saw some water and then watched the games, of course. Went for the most part to what was expected, but Team Liquid, the only two-time lock-in champions.
Yep.
So good for them. We'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Nice.
You could say they've won every lock-in ever. 100% win rate.
Ooh, yeah, you're right.
So my weekend was pretty good. I celebrated the Lunar New Year with some friends. We made some dumplings. I went down to Mountain View, which is a very long train ride from San Francisco, but it was worth it. That was fun. And then obviously I'm very happy about how the games went. I think most of us on the podcast weren't surprised, but it definitely looked like everywhere you were looking, like analysts were like saying, definitely a win, maybe even a 3-0 for 100 Thieves.
EG.
EG, why did I say 100 Thieves?
I know.
100 Thieves weren't even remotely close to this match.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the wrong hype train. So yeah, I'm very happy about it. Honestly, it seems like if you have a sub and you do that well, sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think what's crazy is I saw a graphic of everybody, like the analysts, all of their predictions for the lock-in tournament winner, like way back before it started, and I believe there were only two people, Freak and Jat, who actually had someone other than 100 Thieves winning. And I think they picked Team Liquid and EG. And I think Jat was the one that actually picked Team Liquid. So out of all the analysts, they're the only ones that have picked Team Liquid when I believe 3 out of 4 of us, sorry, Alistair, we picked Team Liquid. And, so, I'm not trying to brag, but maybe I am a little bit because, we had pretty good predictions. I think, we kind of saw, the potential of what this team could be, and holy cow, did they deliver. Now, EG went undefeated this entire tournament and then went 3-0. Now, the first game, even the first game I thought where it was a little bit close. Like Team Liquid still showed that they could dominate. And I'm really excited because, you're seeing so much from Team Liquid, and I think the ceiling can still even get higher. So I'm wondering just how good this team is. Why don't you guys talk about your initial thoughts about Team Liquid's performance?
Honestly, obviously, so we did see this matchup during the regular or group stage, or whatever you want to call it, of lock-in, where EG actually got the win over Team Liquid,
right,
which I think surprised a lot of people, and I think influenced a lot of predictions that EG is just going to win again. Honestly, once we saw Bwipo not trolling, it felt so one-sided in the games themselves. They felt kind of close until 15 minutes, and then Liquid just hard out macroed them and just absolutely stomped them. And I personally would like to throw out a bit of a theory about Core JJ.
Okay.
Now, obviously, Core JJ is amazing, the best support in the league right now. I don't think there's any arguments about that. But I also think part of Liquid's success with a sub support and why they keep Corey on the bench is because Core JJ has elevated the league and especially support players so much to the point where Core JJ isn't the gap between Core JJ and everyone else isn't as huge as it used to be. So that's why we have players like Vulcan who are arguably just as good at this point. And I think that's why we have Isla, who looks, really, really good, even though, like, we say it's a sub, but like it feels like he's not doing much worse than he's kind of doing what Core JJ would do anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that point. Ayla played very clean. It felt like we don't know who's saying who behind the cameras, but it felt like he knew where he was supposed to be at almost every point in the game. It can be really easy when you have someone like Hansama there, playing the lane incredibly well, also knowing what to do. But oftentimes with subs or with rookies or new players, there are times where you can feel like they don't match up. Like whoever was the ADC player, Yon or Yon, I don't remember
I
his
think it's
name.
Yon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young.
He definitely felt like he was not in the right place at the right time, like in his games. I think he had 2 or 3. So, it's kind of cool to see. And then obviously Jojopyun, right? He didn't have the greatest showing in the finals, and I think a lot of us sort of foresaw that, but he played pretty well for a rookie. So it's
Right.
exciting that, yeah, I think this theory that the overall level, at least mechanically, and to a lot of fundamentals, most players from academy all the way to pro are gonna kind of know what to do at most points of the game. It's that point where you don't know what to do, right? EG, you could definitely tell. It was the first time they were behind a lot in like mid game areas, and they didn't know how to come back. They didn't know how to find ways to actually, you know, close out the game or bring the game around to come back against a team without a random Baron steal, which is exactly what Jojo did.
Yeah.
He ulted in and smited at 899, which is just an absolutely crazy play. So that's exciting, but still couldn't win. So yeah, familiarity is nice for an experienced team like Team Liquid.
All right, so to check off my laundry list, let's see. First, 2 finals in a row we've predicted against all the other analysts this podcast has, and we were completely right. So
we're better.
I'd like to take that credit.
Yeah.
I think it's not easy, like especially when everyone's telling you. Of course, like there's not that many stakes, but we still have our bets. At the end of the we have our predictions. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Jojopyun actually played quite well in terms of laning. He more or less won, quote unquote, one lane at least 2 out of 3 games, I would say. And like that Baron steal, like that's not a play you see often. Like I can't remember the last time I saw a TF do it. I've seen like Ornn TP in or Flash in. He's super tanky, he can just smite it. But that was a coordinated play between Danny and Jojopyun. So that's both NA talents, outclassing in that play at least. Outplaying a lot of very strong veteran talent. So I'd give EG some credit. I think game 1 they should have won. They had a lot of things in their wheelhouse, but like it just, man, the amount of carry potential on that team is ridiculous. Like Bwipo he was a monster in semis, right? And he's still a monster in finals. Don't get me wrong, but I think Impact played at such a level that it wasn't as big of a gap. Fake God, I'm sorry, that was. I don't know if we want to talk about semis, but that was painful, man. I've never seen it. Was like 9
Look, man,
solo kills.
LCS bullies fake God enough. Do you not remember the graphic?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
they did them dirty.
Usually doesn't smack him that hard. Anyways, but Hansama popped off, guys. Like this team has so much threat on it. It kind of reminds me of like some of those LPL teams where like they don't protect the ADC. They just threaten the opponents enough that the ADC is like the last thing you think about, and then the ADC wins the fight, right? Like it wasn't some major screw up that killed EG. It was Hansama just like played extremely well. He played his limits so well over and over, and just made Jinx look broken because she's broken.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for this team.
Hey Kevin, do me a favor. Your mic, sometimes the volume will be low, sometimes it'll be high. Try to readjust it or like put it into place.
Reset it. It might actually fix it.
Yeah. And I'll edit this out on the audio so they won't hear it on audio. But on video, y'all are seeing this. YouTube. If y'all aren't already subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Ding.
Yes. Thank you.
and
like
thank you for
we like big
always.
numbers.
Yeah, we appreciate every single listener.
1 million subscribers. The League
Yeah, what are we
Dad,
doing for 1 mil subscribers?
the
Shave
League
my
Dad
head?
will he'll I don't know he'll shave his head and then dance.
Shave my
He
head would
starts
be
OnlyFans.
shave. No, no. I shave my head. By the way, I don't know why I thought of this now, but freaking Alistair always screen caps my picture after every podcast, and he'll put it in our Discord chat.
Well, I'll screenshot.
This guy, man. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I shave my head because my wife absolutely hates my. That's like the worst haircut she has seen on me. Yeah,
The Johnny
she
Depp
hates.
hair?
She hates my. I've had a middle part too before, and I asked her one time. I said, "Which would you rather I show up to our wedding? Would you rather I had a middle part or shaved head?" She's like, "Oh God, the middle part." She's like, "That shaved head, I look crazy." But anyways, all right, going back. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think with Hans Sama, what I noticed about him in team fights, I feel like he positions really well early on in the game. There are a couple times where it seems like he's caught, but through a mix of him having quick reactions and Ayla, playing good support with Lulu or whatever he's playing, he's able to survive that. And what I notice is that, man, Bwipo gets in there, does his thing, whatever. And then when they're all kind of low, man, Hansama just kind of comes in there and starts, styling on them and cleaning up, just like he's supposed to. I mean, he's the ADC. All you got to do is stay alive, be that threat, especially if you're like a Jinx or anybody with resets. Even when he played Aphelios, he was still doing well. But it's crazy, like, to see how good he is and how, yes, he'll still need to learn a little bit about, where he needs to position. But I think it's pretty good so far. And I think he reacts pretty well. And if he has a good support like Ayla or our core by him, I think he'll do great. But let's circle back to Bwipo. Because this man had an amazing tournament. I'm so excited. He might be my favorite player on the team right now because I am just really excited when there's a go button. But it feels different to me than like Jizuke, where Jizuke always had a go button. I know Bwipo does, but for some reason it feels like even when he goes, he makes his death efficient because he definitely has the highest death share of any top laner. But when he dies, he makes it count. Like, they sent 3 or 4 people up there. He blew like 3 or 4 cooldowns, and he made them low. And so I just want to, what do you guys have to say about him? Whether it's his play, his style, his builds, good or bad. I mean, do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's going to bite Team Liquid in the butt? Give me your thoughts on him.
Well, my initial thought is he spent some time talking to the Bouse. Obviously, there was some inting Scion plays, which he has certainly not mastered. But the Bouse is always he's been challenger for many years, and even before this whole Scion strat that he kind of got famous for, off of basically playing how what Bwipo is doing. And I think we know that the Europeans always go to the one tricks and these players to learn the champions or these strats, and I think that's what's happening here with Bwipo. I think he's learned, like, hey, if we're trying to make a play here, I want to make sure I'm going to drag as many people as I can. I'm going to burn as much as I can. I'm going to live as long as I can, and I'm going to waste their time, and I'm still going to die, and I'm still going to come out on top.
Exactly.
That's my read, and that's how I feel it goes for Bwipo.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a big hint of that. Like, they play pretty strongly weak side for top lane for Bwipo. I mean, they come up sometimes, right? They'll 3-man it with mid and jungle, but oftentimes it's pretty weak side. Santora's going bot lane, so the strategy is definitely I can agree with that. But I also think that where we are right now, I mean, Impact to a lesser degree, but it's not just a 1v1 for top lane, right? He roams around, kills other people. He's just better, I think, than other people mechanically in this league right now, at least. And honestly, when he styles on people in Europe, he does the same thing, where he does outplay people pretty hard. He's just mechanically better. He knows more instances where more kill angles. It feels like he knows more kill angles than anybody else in our league. And it's only really internationally where you ever actually see him like not come out on top regularly. Right. And I think that's just gonna stay how it is. It was in regular season in Europe. It's gonna be the same thing in NA. I think his competition is just gonna be right under him for most of the time he's here. and he's going to be outplaying people in lane and in team fights. It's pretty nuts to have this kind of player because he's been doing it consistently since 2018 Fnatic. So gotta give him that credit. So it's pretty exciting to have a player like him. We'll see if anybody can reach up and match him. You know.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
you're muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You are muted, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think
I will also
Kevin
edit this
say-
out unless you're watching the video. Hit that subscribe button.
Yes, please do.
This video is sponsored by no one.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's
There he is.
But,
He's
oh,
back.
nice. Sorry
Hello.
about that, guys.
No
Long work day and all
problemo.
that.
All right.
Anyways, I was gonna say I think Summit's gonna challenge him right away.
Oh, yeah.
I think that guy is at a really high level in terms of LCK tops, and we're just waiting for him to show up. What I will say is Bwipo probably brings something that even Summit probably doesn't have in this league, and it's very rare in general, not just in top lane. In general, is that he is definitely the type of player who plays for impact, team fight impact.
Not the player.
Yeah, not the player. I mean, he did play better than Impact, but I think Impact played really well still.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't have a go button on Graves, but he was literally flashing in and just like when he's in bad scenarios or like scenarios where there's a lot of pressure on him, he doesn't run away. He doesn't.
Right.
I don't remember the last time he flashed out of a fight. It was always like flash over, blow up Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Like Danny was like, wait, what? I just got one shot by lethality Graves or whatever. Like Eclipse Collector, like the bad item build, right?
That's the best one.
He's so willing to just push and put so much pressure. I think he single-handedly won the Dignitas series.
Yeah.
By the way, like yes, they 3-0'd EG, but let's not forget the 3-1 against Dignitas felt closer at times.
It did.
If not,
It did.
like it should have been a 3-2 at best. But he dragged them kicking and screaming to the finish line. So I think he's ridiculously good just for that. Like I think it's gonna up NA's level. The whole like stop playing for KDA, stop playing for stats. You got this guy just dragging you over, and if you can't answer him right, he's gonna destroy you in lane. He's gonna destroy you in team fights. Like poor Fake God, man. Fake God's not even like the worst top laner we have. Well, he's like in the bottom maybe 4, but I don't think he's the worst.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned a little bit about his build, right, with the Graves build, right? Because some people like to go, the shield bow and whatever, and and I just like that he did go the Eclipse build, and not just that, but okay, we know the Scion game and that build, but in theory, I mean, I guess it could have worked, and he doesn't build like you remember the Gangplank game he had. He bought like 3 crit cloaks, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
boss.
and they were explaining it a little bit in the game, but what I like too is that he's not afraid to like, try things up in the build. Will they always be good? Maybe not, but he thinks about the game like that, I think, and at least he tries, and he's not just, playing the Mobile Fire build, which I know the pros look up all the time. Just kidding. But like, like it actually seems like he's putting some thought into his build, and I like to see that. So let's move on to that mid lane matchup, because I was really hyping up Jojo, and I was telling you guys I still wanted Bjerg to 3-0 him and show him how the boomers do it, and that's pretty much what happened, right? But to his credit, Jojo did play pretty well, and I think that what I've noticed just from this whole weekend is that I feel like Bjergsen and Jojo are up here, and I'm sorry, Fudge, you're top 3, but I think at this moment, but I think your 3 is all the way down here. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like at the moment, from what we've seen, and we haven't seen the whole picture yet, like, I just feel like from the tournament, Bjergsen, Jojo up here, everybody else mid lane is down here. They were just so good. They played so well. I mean, the TF and the Silas, and Bjergsen basically playing him, like out-rotating him as Silas stealing TF salt. That's just like BM to the max. Like, I'm going to get here first using your freaking ult. Let's talk a little bit about that matchup. What were your thoughts? I mean, Bjergsen, Jojo, you could talk about either one of them, but it was just exciting to see, and I'm super excited to see future rematches, because with the trash talk and how the performance came, this weekend, I'm sure this is going to be a great matchup from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was... I do want to say, I don't feel like Bjergsen played leagues better than JoJo, I think a lot of it had to do with the mid jungle matchups. Two of these games, it's Sylas into Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate has a hard time pushing in Sylas, and Sylas can just steal the ultimate, and then as we saw, he pushes in the wave, which is basically that matchup is who can get push. And a lot of that comes down to the jungle matchup. You have Jarvan versus Viego, or you have Jarvan versus Poppy.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
also with the Sylas TF matchup is also like the TF can't even walk up to the Sylas really. The Sylas just jumps on you if you get too close. So
Exactly.
it's very one-sided. Yeah.
It's a super one-sided matchup, and I feel like EG entered draft 2 games in a row, game 1 and 2. The game just felt over from draft, in my opinion. And again, like not only is the mid matchup super one-sided, the B1 priority on Twisted Fate I understand, but not keeping the Sylas available just felt off. And then just having, I'm pretty sure Jarvan wins the Jarvan Viego matchup, and then the Poppy counter to Jarvan. I mean, I guess
It's a little
but
weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
yeah,
little weird to spend a
it
whole
felt out of
pick
place. It's like
countering a Jarvan.
I guess you can block the EQ, but Jarvan also has Flash Cataclysm, which you can't Poppy W.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think he
Weird.
played well though in the
He
game.
did. No,
Inspired.
they played well. I just feel like the draft was just so one-sided for the mid jungle 2v2 that it kind of like obviously made Bjergsen look really good, but I think it made JoJo look bad when it's like he was kind of put in a bad situation.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a great way to like explain the matchup too, because it was also just the holistic draft where we're kind of straying away from just JoJo and Bjergsen right now. But honestly, J4, I said it honestly at the beginning of these lock-in podcasts. J4 was going to be a really big pick. Probably should prioritize higher than Lee Sin and Jin Zhao. And turns out that's exactly what ended up happening.
Mm-hmm.
Dignitas was playing it a ton. River was playing it a ton, and then they played it against Team Liquid. Oh look, Liquid actually bans it for 3 games in a row. Dignitas doesn't win again, and then J4. I mean, I think obviously Inspired took it in game 3, and that was like one of their closer games. But Santorin decided to pick up J4, and it looked really good for their team. It's just a great way to start games or to start fights, and you have Lulu come in and shield you.
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure on junglers that don't have those kind of go buttons, right? Like Viego, he might win the 1v1, especially if he has the tools to dodge the EQ, but it's like you're not starting fights the way a J4 does. And I think that's what's massive in this sort of meta, where it's very low engage. And J4 is a bruiser with engage. So that's a big deal. And yeah, the mid lane matchup was, I felt like, honestly, didn't matter until mid game, and then Bjergsen did out team fight JoJo for sure, though.
Yeah.
Mostly to JoJo Xin Zhao ulting people to safety. That was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but in the last game, Jinx actually flew over a wall because he got Xin Zhao ulted and it saved her. And then Hantawa could just free fire, reset. There's so many little scenarios where if JoJo plays it differently, they actually win that fight. So it was pretty unlucky, but I mean that's his first finals against pro players ever, right? So yeah.
Considering he's a rookie, I mean, I think it's really impressive. That being said, while Bjergsen didn't play leagues better than JoJo, I think he played league better than JoJo. I think you saw so many instances where, like, yeah, he TP'd in, or he TF TP'd in literally like half a second earlier, right? And he instantly won that fight for them.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a really bad skirmish if the TF shows up first. Then there was another really poignant situation where he TPs in, and JoJo tries to TP out, and he's like a quarter second away from completing the TP, and he gets killed and loses his TP. Like, Bjergsen had the veteran, like, poise, right? He was not panicking. He wasn't misplaying. He was down CS. I think JoJo's just a better laner.
Yep.
For sure. And I'm not saying, like, just as in, like, being diminutive to his rest of his play. I'm just saying that, like, in this series, he definitely had a great laning, and then, like, sometimes questionable plays and sometimes good plays, you know? So
it's
I
also
think
matchup though. Just saying, with the CS,
yeah,
it's also matchup.
Yeah, this is
range
true,
versus
but
melee. Yeah.
I agree. I would say though, I think that they EG let their players pick their draft, or why is this Poppy in that draft, right? And I think Liquids was way more of a, hey, we have our outs, we have our win cons, and like we might lose certain parts of the game, but we're gonna win this game. I.e. the Jinx pick, right? Why were there 2 Varus picks in a row? Do you mean to tell me the coach thought this was it after watching the first game? I don't know. I think this was Danny saying, I think I could destroy him with Varus. I don't know. I honestly have no idea what that Varus was. But I can't imagine a paid coaching staff of a team of that caliber thought that was the play. So
yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. The Varus, and we saw Tom Kench coming back on there. But before that, did you guys have anything else to say about any of the players on either of the teams? Because I did want to talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? Particularly you, Alistair, because we were talking about last week Jinx Caitlyn, and there were so many times where like Jinx would be left open. We did see, instead of Jinx, sometimes Aphelios. But then here comes this Varus. And like I said, we saw some Tom Kench coming along. So Alistair, you already gave us the thumbs down. But what were your thoughts on that? And do you have any insight why they pulled it out all of a sudden?
They pulled it out because it technically has a favorable matchup into Aphelios mainly, which is what it was picked into. Because Varus, he just kind of shuts down what Aphelios wants to do, where he wants to try and push the tempo and fight, where Varus can just keep his distance and outpoke you and then outtrade you with Hail of Blades. The issue is, and my biggest personal issue with picking Varus was the fact that he went Gale Force Wit's End. Which was really weird to me. I don't know why you'd pick Varus and not go lethality. Yeah. Even into tanks, your W does crazy magic damage, so you're not just one-dimensional, and on top of that, you've much higher burst, and you're building 2% pen items in your first 3 items, so you're not really getting shut down by tanks. The issue with AD carry counters is if you don't get a favorable support matchup, unless the AD carry matchup is extremely one-sided, it doesn't matter.
Well, would you
picking a B tier champ into an S tier champ for no reason?
Well, would you say that Varus also counters Caitlyn and Ezreal, or because it was also picked by Team Liquid against their matches, 2 of their games against Dignitas, so it wasn't just EG that did it, and that's why I was surprised because I saw it as early as the Team Liquid first Dignitas game.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, it is. Varus is also very good into Caitlyn, basically for the same reason. Caitlyn ever tries to step up, Varus just ults her and then kills her.
Gotcha.
She can't.
Eat her.
Yeah, the thing with Caitlyn is, if you're playing Caitlyn and you're not getting lane push, it's doomed.
Gotcha.
Varus is really good at getting lane push and out trading you if you try to contest him. Varus loses to matchups where he can't do that. Caitlyn is a champion who he can do that into. Ezreal's the exact same thing. I personally just think Ezreal's bad. Honestly, I don't think Ezreal's very good. I've seen way too many games, pro play and solo queue, where Ezreal gets fed, gets items, and he still just does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Overall, I'm just not a fan of the Varus. Especially if you're going to go on hit. Maybe things are different if he goes lethality. That's my personal take.
Okay.
I personally think that the reason why we're seeing the Varus so often is that in scrims, pro players must have had a ton of success, because there's no way that, I think it's like 3 or 4 teams have definitely pulled out the Varus multiple times. It showed up in scrims, and people were having success on it. And people were having success with this weird bruisery, like ADC attack speed on hit build, right? So that's definitely why we're seeing it. What I imagine happened though is that, let's say they're paired with a Tom Kench, they did more of what Team Liquid did in that game, where they started level 1 and ran at them and got first blood.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's how you have to play it, and all these other teams are not opting into that sort of hyper aggressive strategy where you can't just sort of farm up as a Tom Kench Varus TK normally, because, well, you can't save Varus super easily anymore. You get it once, right, with your ultimate, and it's a very long cooldown. So what people are more willing to do scrims is probably what we saw Team Liquid actually enact, is just run at them and fight, and Varus TK, yeah, they'll win the level 1, they'll win the level 2, whatever, because TK is that broken of a champion. But I think if you try to play it like normal Tom Kench, you are very useless. You have one ability, essentially. You have Q. So that's my guess as to why we're seeing it, and why maybe we do still see teams play it, and why Team Liquid they knew that they had to go for something like this level 1 to actually win the game with the Varus
Yeah.
DK.
I
And
do
they
want to
just
point out.
yeah.
You did mention the build that I didn't really go as in depth as I probably should have. The Gale Force Wits End build is very strong build.
Hmm.
The Gale Force Bloodthirster, Gale Force Wits End. I've been spamming it in solo queue. It is very strong. It makes you a lot harder to kill with a lot more playmaking potential from the Gale Force. The issue is, if you're building it on Varus, why are you not playing a better champion?
Hmm. So who would you go this build on? I've actually never seen it. Yeah.
It's playable on Ashe. It's playable on Jinx. Those are the only ones I've personally put it into.
Jinx, holy god.
I mean, I
Ashe, I've
think,
seen it. I've seen like Shield Bow, Wits End, Gale Force, Wits End, and stuff like that. But I've never
yeah,
seen Jinx go it. Yeah.
I personally just think the very if you're gonna build, if you're gonna pick something like a B tier champion, going going a build that works on other champions just isn't the move. Just pick a better champion with a different build. That's my personal opinion. You pick the Jhin
Yeah, I
or
definitely think
something.
pick Jhin or you go Lethality Varus. I actually thought that was the move if they went Lethality Varus. Actually, Team Liquid's comp didn't have much to do. They can't sustain at all. They're all melees. If you siege up S5 with the Lethality Varus, they have no wave clear because they have Silas and they have Graves, right? They're
Yeah.
very short ranged. And then they have an Aphelios, also super short ranged. So, I mean, I 100% agree. Like, Lethality Varus would have actually made a huge difference for the team comps in this series. But we didn't see it. And it's unfortunate to Danny slash coaching staff they didn't see it because, yeah, it would have been the better build. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have pretty much said all there is to be said about that Varus build. I think if there was anything else to mention, I think that the Bjergsen Zillion still keeps winning. Like every time I see it, I'm like, I don't know if this is a good pick in this game. It doesn't really have the prio or whatever, and you just like see him literally running over his opponents. Like Inspire had this one really key play in top lane where he just got or not Inspire. It was Blue actually from Dig. Dig got caught. They had a good play. He got double bombed even though he had flash up, and then it just like snowballed from there. And I feel like because they have no ability to ban out one player on Liquid, it gives them so many options. They can pick Zillion. They don't have to force to pick Zillion, but if it's a really good pick for their comp, they can just keep adding them in. So I think that's a great sign for them. I still think Inspire played well in general, but he did like miss a lot of poppy outs, and I think Santorin was like low key the MVP in some ways for that series, just because he neutralized a lot of what Inspire wanted to do.
His engages were so good.
Santorin
So
is
good.
He's still so good, and I feel like he's just sometimes kind of quiet under the radar. Just kind of he does what he needs to do. He reminds me kind of like Smithy, but better. He kind of does what he needs to do.
He's very streaky though. He's very streaky. I don't know if you guys noticed, he has streaks that he's on and off. So very clearly in this finals, he was very on. Against Dignitas, he was very off, right? You kind of like we were saying earlier, like, yeah, Bwipo was like the only player on Team Liquid, basically, when they're playing Dignitas. I think it's just because he was so much better than Fake God and everybody else. But definitely the other four were like thinking it was going to be easy. Didn't really wake up that day. It certainly felt like Santorin was just kind of on autopilot playing against Dignitas. When I looked at his pathing and sort of just his mechanics in team fights especially, but it felt like for this one he just waited for the best EQs and the best ultis, and he got them all off. And yeah, it's interesting, but I'm a little worried honestly because Santorin was also the same thing last year where it felt like he was on all playoffs, and then in finals day he played really badly. Actually, he was kind of asleep. So I'm curious how this streakiness is going to hold up and if it stays a trend, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good point. I want to touch back real quick on that Zillion because Bjergsen, man, he's still good with that champ, and sometimes like it's hard because like we've talked about this. Zillion has probably one of the most broken ults in the game, right? And he is so good in pro play because one of the marks of a great Zillion player is knowing when to use that ult, because pro players are good enough to not kill you if you're ulted. And I feel like he does such a great job most of the time ulting at just the right time and at just the right target. And, I remember there was a Dig game, I think it was game 4. Bjergsen still had a pick and they tried to ban him. So they banned Orianna and Syndra, and he pulls out the Zillion. It's like, why don't teams remember that? I'm like wondering, is it not worth a ban to ban Zillion? But in my experience from seeing Bjergsen, and everybody knows this, he's so good with that champ. It's almost like you should ban Zillion because he is just perfected that champion to a T, and I'm glad to see that it's still a strong pick for him. Like, and that's a tough. Like, I'm almost like you should just play that every time. Just play a second support and let Hansama or Bwipo just carry, and you just or even J4, you could ult him. It's like
Yeah. So the reason why Bjergsen gets away with it though is because he's so much better than the league. We see internationally though that like they'll play into Zillion and they'll get way bigger lane advantages, way bigger CS advantage, and then they'll outperform in team fights.
It's
Like
true.
that's just the big thing is that he's just so much better than everybody else here that he can get away with a pick. I promise you, you get to a better laner and a better team fighter, they rack up that 90 CS lead or something, and they start blowing people up, and you can't ult enough people. So it's a polarizing pick, I think. It
Yeah.
can get strong, but there's definitely ways to beat it.
Yeah, definitely. Always pros and cons. What were you gonna say, Alistair?
I was saying that was essentially what I wanted to say. I personally don't like seeing it just because I personally feel like it's a bit of a crutch. I'm not saying Bjergsen has to play Zillion to beat everyone. I'm not. That's not the case, obviously. But I feel like they it's not really worth practicing for them like as much as it's being played, just because we've seen it internationally and it just gets clapped. I mean, we even watched Jojo go down to 40% HP level 1 just because he got auto attacked like 8 times for free. It's like it just doesn't.
Right.
I just would prefer to see practice on something else. I would rather see like an Akali or something. I'm not saying Akali is the best at that game. I'm just spitting out a champion.
Yeah.
I would rather. I said I'd rather just have something else because we won playing Zillion against a bunch of against teams who don't know how to punish it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it should be kept in the wheelhouse. I've never said that he should play it every game, as of course you guys knew that. But I think that like it's a nice wild card to have. I do think that internationally you would have to just play it in a very specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is actually a good matchup. Like Zillion is notoriously good against certain characters, right? Like I think maybe I'm getting mixed up, but I'm pretty sure Zillion is usually picked when you see a Rakan. It might be the other way around, but I think like that nice to have in the back pocket. But he's clearly not relying on it. He has so much firepower on his team, guys.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
I honestly think Zillion's just better as a support, honestly. Especially when you think of like countering situations. But yeah, he's so good at it, right? That's why he.
Yeah,
plays it.
he definitely.
But,
He's definitely mastered that
Yeah.
champion. Speaking of champions and builds and all of this stuff, let's move on to some gameplay stuff because something that's been going around like hotcakes is what people are calling the new funnel strategy is Smite Janna top. And I don't know. I haven't tried it. Like I haven't even tried it. But essentially, this strategy just involves picking Janna, taking Smite, going top, and basically not staying top, but roaming around, getting objectives, being a menace to the other jungler. And it's super frustrating, but because of things like support items, which help you generate gold even if you're not laning, and because of objective bounties, where even if you get behind, you can still rack up a ton of gold, this strategy seems to be working. And there are a lot of players, both pro and casual, that hate it, but there are also some pro players that love it and that are actually finding success in it. But my question to you, fellow wise casters, fellow wise co-hosts, is what do you think of this? What are your opinions on it? Do you think stuff like this shouldn't be in the game? Just whatever is on your mind about this whole Smite Janna trend.
So first of all, it's been said, it's basically just another final meta. Also, it's not just Janna.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Twitch. I've seen Lulu. I've seen
Karma.
Yumi. I've seen it done mid lane with Yumi. I personally hate it. And I think the Enchanter class needs to be reworked as a whole. Because Enchanters have been broken for years. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen enchanters top, and it's not going to be the last. It's not healthy for the game, and basically just rides off of the fact that lanes, individual lanes, don't really matter if you can just hard snowball a jungler and set one jungler behind. Because the jungle is just such a pivotal role, especially in the early game, and especially with champions like Hecarim or Viego or Xin Zhao running around who can pretty much just 1v5 the enemy team if they have an enchanter with them.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's broken. There's going to be some changes coming up to the Bruiser class that make that last statement a little less likely. But yeah, it feels like, Bruiser with Enchanter, Conqueror, or Lethal Tempo, yada yada, they just never die. And they kill you really fast too. Um, but yeah, supports are also very broken. I think those have been the two most broken roles for a very long time. And then just the irrelevance of top lane is what it really screams out, right? I think that the only way to really beat this, if you're not playing it by yourself, is to pick a hyperscaling champion and hope that you can just 1v5 on your own, and hopefully you have your own enchanter, right? Because you might be facing against another bruiser with two enchanters. So, um, it's yeah, I don't think it should exist. That's all I'm gonna say about
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I do disagree. I don't think it's the irrelevance of top lane. I think it's the hyper relevance of jungle and support. I think that's what it is because, like, you're just since you're throwing so much gold into a role that's going to run the entire map, like you could play it as a mid laner. It's not just a top lane thing. I've seen mid laners do it. I've seen AD carries do it. And they just have an enchanter bot lane soak XP, or they've had two enchanters fall out around. So like it's
that
quite
sounds
literally
crazy.
It just feels like it's just the fact that how powerful jungle is, and it's not that any other role is weak. That's my personal take at least.
I'm still gonna go with I think top lane is pretty weak right now. Just in terms of early game impact, right? If you roam, like it feels bad. If you stay, it kind of feels bad. So just my 2 cents on the top lane. But yeah.
Okay.
I think that's I'm kind of in Mitchell's boathouse where like I think that's what led to it, because they don't have that much impact early on. They're like, might as well just pick this, right? You can't really punch me most likely. Whether it takes a rework enchanters to fix, I'm not really sure. What I do think is like I think it's good to keep like weird like off meta picks like into the game. Like I think League has reached a kind of a habit where whenever we have an issue, right, someone like comes up with a really good idea, it just gets nerfed in 2 weeks. And to me, I think that's a problem. I think Enchanter specifically, no, I don't want it around. But there are certain times where I'm like, oh, that was a cool strategy. Oh, but why learn it, right? Like it's just gonna go away tomorrow. Yeah. So in this case, yeah, please get rid of it. Find a way to solve that. That's just not okay. It's degen, right? But there's gonna be like there are certain things like Mage's Top and stuff like that that aren't like karma and all that stuff that I would want to see. So I think it's a problem. I don't know if there's an easy solution. I do think Smite should never, ever, ever be in any lane but jungle. So just take it out of like just only one Smite per team. It's really simple, honestly. What argument would you have for like a reasonable, like balanced way to use Smite in a lane, right? There isn't one. You're just trying to abuse some kind of funnel strat or like a jungle item, right? It's one or the other, and it just hurts.
Some cheese, yeah. Some sort of
it just hurts everyone involved because it's just dumb. There's almost never a reason to just take Smite, right? If you're a laner.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I also agree with the fact that I also I would hope that there would still be something other than just the typical like meta stuff, like because there are things, but even the inting Scion strategy, people hate that, right? But
it's not healthy.
Well, okay. Maybe not though. I think there is a community. I would say that there's probably a community of people who think that, hey, we're winning the game. Now, the difference with this one is I will say that I think Objective Gold has kind of also made this kind of an exploit where if they fixed it or tweaked it, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. I also think, like you said, Kevin, the Smite thing, just fix that. Let only jungler have it, right? Or even the support item, maybe only the person that's labeled as a support can buy a support item, right? So that, because one of the reasons why it is also successful is that you generate gold still from an item, a support item that where you don't necessarily have to lane. Make it more punishable if somebody actually wants to roam, because Janna is a pretty good roamer, or whoever wants to roam. I don't think that should be the issue in itself, because it's a strategy. You're banking on the fact that I want to get my other lanes ahead. My type of champion is a champion, like I like playing these supportive type champions. I don't want to play like a split pusher. So I can help my team in that way. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I also don't think there's anything wrong with people picking slightly different builds. I had an AP Zac on my team who did a bunch of damage, but when it came time to team fights, he was worthless, and like we totally lost. But he was like 8-4 and 2. Yeah, I didn't like it, but hey, I mean, that was interesting. Whatever. He's trying something new. But that's my thoughts on it, and I do think that there are other ways to do it. But did you guys have anything else to say on it? I mean, that was just my thoughts. I know funnel wasn't healthy for the game, but I think that's because it relied on the support gold item thing, and them exploiting that, where then they fixed it, right? So you couldn't really do it anymore. And I'd like to see Riot do something like that instead of just remove it from the game somehow.
For me, go ahead.
I think remove it. I honestly think remove it. I'm just sorry. I just wanted to say that. I think remove
Get it
this
out there,
type
man.
of strategy from the game.
What's your
especially
reason
for
though?
region- It's very unfun to play against if you're the enemy top laner and you're if you go into the game as a team with a normal top laner, it's just very unfun for all 5 of those people, and it's a lot of fun for the 4 people that get support, right? But it makes it very just not a positive experience. The top laner lanes by himself and does nothing for a really long time. He loses a lot of that just playing the game that he's expecting to play. They're expecting to play. The rest of the team is also having to play against 3 junglers now, because 2 supports are roaming and they have an actual jungler. The enemy jungler cannot play the game at all. It's too one-sided in the way it goes. Yeah, I actually think the unfortunate thing is the objective bounty thing is what I think revealed the strategy. If they removed objective bounties, I feel like the strategy would still be very strong, which is pretty sad, because that means people could have been doing this last season. Right? So no one figured it out. They only thought of it because of objective bounties.
It only got popularized this season, because last season there was, I don't remember the name, but there was some Janna support player who got ganked and then vowed they were never going to die to a gank again, so they started the strategy.
Yeah, it was around, but it wasn't popular, right? And so I think the fact that it's popular now is just what's a bummer. And
we can thank Lorlo.
We can thank Lorlo. We can thank a lot of just Reddit and just how fast things go around. But I think the crazy thing to think about is just that there's probably a couple of these strategies sitting in the game right now that no one's discovered, and it's gonna take just some random just discovery to figure those stuff out, and that's just how it goes when you have a patch every couple of weeks, right? Your game changes so much, you make big sweeping updates. So we're gonna have another one of these in 2 years, guys. So get ready.
Yeah, I mean, my personal thoughts on the matter is I'm not against off-meta picks and builds. There's nothing wrong with building AP Zac. If you want to play Bruiser Nidalee top, go for it, right?
Don't do it. Just kidding.
No, there's a guy who's very good at it in around Masters Elo. His name's Eshin. But my issue
RF
is
Legendary. Okay.
there is also RF Legendary.
Yeah.
He's the first one.
Yeah. We also have to remember that it's still a game. People play it for fun, and strategies that just ruin the fun for everyone or a significant number of people, even if it's ruining the game for 2 people, that's 20% of the entire game. And that's why I'm personally very biased against inting Scion and Tryndamere, because it's like you're not having fun even if you're winning, because I have to go babysit this ogre top lane. It's like, oh, well, he's 13 deaths, and he still just wins the game because he's throwing himself at a tower on cooldown. And he
has more gold than you somehow.
His only tank item, his only quote-unquote tank item is boots and a hull breaker, and then he's full damage, but he's unkillable and one-shots everyone.
Yeah.
It's just not fun for almost anyone involved. I'm not saying remove split pushing, when I'm talking about inting Zion. I think split pushing is important to have, but when you get, you know, strategies that just remove any interaction from the game, it's just ruining it for so many different people. It just, again, at its base, League of Legends is a game that's meant for enjoyment.
Yeah. It's also meant to play with 5 people to work together, and that never happens. So
yeah, but that's, yes, but even though the majority of people play a solo duo queue.
Yeah, that's true. No, I totally agree with the unfun part for sure. Like, I get that. Like, I also think that's, especially if you're not on the other team, or excuse me, if you're on the other team, it's extremely frustrating. It's also extremely frustrating. Like, so I was in a game, and in my low elo, again, somebody on the other team tried to do this Smite Janna thing, right? And we destroyed them. We destroyed them so bad. And everybody was flaming this Janna top. So, like, not only is it bad for the people that can actually pull it off, like, for that game, it's bad for that team that person was on in my game, like, where they have to deal with this person who's trying the strategy. But I will say again, like, I don't, my worry is that, like, I don't ever want to really stifle a new way of thinking about the game, because it's what makes maybe new strategies come about, right? You know, we had lane swap. People hated that, you know, but it was something different. We had the 4-man dive TP, right, on that third minion wave, right? And now that's done. So they got to think of something new. Like, I think it's healthy for the game if people are still thinking and trying to find ways to beat it in a different way. That's all I'm saying.
It's never going to go away. It's never going to go.
Yeah.
As long as people can take advantage of it to gain a couple elos, some LPs here and there to gain, like, people are always going to do it. People are always going to sit around
and that's what I mean.
And think about it and figure it out. So
like,
that's
I
nice
don't
thing.
I think, like, you know, if they don't, for example, funnel's not a thing, but they did stuff to really kind of de-incentivize it, or, like, make it really not appealing or not even really worth to do. I feel like if they just implement some changes, I think it might still be a viable strategy. You might need to be a little more coordinated, but maybe make it way more riskier or something like that. Again, I'm not saying I like playing against it. I just want to leave room open for just outside of the box playing, thinking.
I do want to say I do slightly disagree with you know, oh, this thing's good and then it gets removed. Sure, it quote unquote gets removed, but at the same time, lane swaps still happen. They're still adapted. We're seeing this thing in LPL where teams are picking Sion or Shen and they're camping the bush and then teleporting top level 1 after winning bot lane. These plays are still happening. They've just taken a different form.
That's kind of funny, honestly, though.
I mean, it is. You see a Shen start taunt, completely sack level 1, but it doesn't matter because he's playing Shen. He taunts level 1, they get summoners, and then, no summoners bot lane. My jungler started top lane. Oh, bot lane's still getting
perfect.
dope.
Yeah.
5 people bot lane in 2 minutes.
Oh, you gotta love it.
Strategies, while they are getting removed, they're getting removed for bad players who use it as a complete crutch. So I think, like, nerfing it so that the average person can't do it
exactly
is fine.
Yeah,
you have to actually sink time into it. Split pushing exactly is completely fine, but when you just have some guy who's running his face at a tower the entire game, and then, oh, it doesn't matter how hard you beat me in lane, you still have to deal with me not interacting with anyone else in the game, it's no fun.
Pacifist Tryndamere was a funny time. That was years ago that came out. No damage, Tryndamere still win the game. Yeah, it's funny that, you know, those strats kind of work out sometimes. Heimerdinger, also Tristana, right? When they're strong. Sometimes pro players are just running around and just killing towers, not interacting with anybody except that, right? So it's
remember there was a Heimerdinger strategy with that item that buffed the minion or whatever. Zeri. Oh my god.
Well, exactly. That meta, everyone hated that meta because it wasn't fun. You just have some adrenaline. Pick these 2 items and you can't ever do anything.
I feel like there's got to be an episode one time where we just strictly devoted to things that we've hated in League, like good things, like that. Yeah.
And the episode should end with us playing a game of League of Legends right after. Let's go.
Here we go. And back to the game.
Fire, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Sunny Mittens. They just combined the items, and we didn't look the other way.
Oh my
they
God.
did.
They did. No one noticed. I'm like, isn't this literally Sunny Mittens?
Yeah.
This is not OP. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of things that are extremely frustrating, let's talk about this new champion, Renata, because her reveal just.
Zeri?
Well, we're gonna get to Zeri.
Okay.
Don't you worry. We're gonna get to Zeri because and we will talk about Zeri a little later because we want to talk about how it relates to Pro because it will be in Pro for next week. So we'll get to that one. But Renata just came out today. At least her ability reveal did. And did you guys get a chance to look at it yet? Okay, so I did take a brief look at it, and as if I don't get frustrated already every time I see a new Champs kit revealed, this one just does it again. And, her kit is, I mean, I think it's an interesting concept because she's quote unquote an enchanter, but she's got like a gun and she looks, pretty cool. But her ability, her W ability is something that I'm really worried about. And it's basically a Chemtech. It's like a Chemtech soul where you could put it on one of your teammates. And if they die within 3 seconds, they will come back to life and they'll start to burn down in 3 seconds. But within that 3 seconds, if they're able to kill somebody, then the burn stops. So essentially, it could be a GA. Could be a straight up revive. And then her ultimate is also something really wonky. She kind of spreads this like gas stuff to a target and all the enemies start attacking each other. They start attacking each other and then they attack neutral camps and then they attack you. And it's just really crazy. I'm looking at it and I'm already not liking the kit in itself. It just seems very frustrating. I have seen some PvE gameplay and it looks like the cooldowns are really long, so maybe that's a thing. But again, I think of Tom Kench's W and how already annoying that is because you can technically save somebody and bring them out of harm's way. And you've seen that it was nerfed. It was taken out of his regular kits, his ultimate now. They changed some things about it because it was so frustrating to play against. This seems like another case of that. But I wanted to get your initial thoughts on the champ, Riot's, trend of these champion kits and, or am I just overreacting?
I mean, I honestly at this point, I don't look forward to new champion releases anymore. If anything, I dread them just because stuff like this. I mean, especially when it comes to support releases. I think support releases have been absolutely terrible, with the exception of like Rel and Rakan over the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why supports are supposed to be doing damage. They're supports. They're supposed to help people do damage, not do damage themselves. Apparently, they were trying to give Renata percent max health true damage.
Oh my god!
Just for just like so that I'm not. I have evidence for me saying this that she's going to do damage. I don't know why Riot now just has a hard-on for revives now, especially after they said they were not going to give any champions revives after Aatrox because it was toxic to the game. Obviously, Riot goes back on their word a lot of times. They're not going to give assassins hard CC, and then they release Kiana. It is what it is. Hopefully, it's not that bad, but I don't know who put forward this ultimate, but the balance team is going to hate them because it is not balanceable. It should, especially because it's AoE, it should not be AoE. It should be at most a single target skill shot, and it should be able to be QSS'd or cleansed. It's going to be a highlight reel ability, obviously, because you're going to get some champion who's super fed, who's going to kill their entire team, and Renata's team, and they're going to get a nano kill or whatever. It's just going to be another universally hated champion like Viego and Gwen. No one's going to want to deal with it.
Yeah.
They really need to tune back. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't think those have. They may have been released. I haven't seen them, but just the abilities themselves, they're not okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy champion. We'll see what happens when it comes out. I haven't looked too much into it, but I already love it. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
This is
the guy who's playing LeBlanc support on your games, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, so you know he's loving this right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of supports not being supposed to do damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I always love the broken stuff when it first comes out, and I always play it. I always play the meta stuff too. That's just kind of how I played the game. I feel like personal philosophy is that's kind of how you're supposed to play the game, right? You just play what's good, kind of thing, and it's these sorts of situations.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, yeah, this champion, I don't know. Okay. It's gonna be broken,
Okay.
and then we're gonna nerf it, and then it's gonna be broken again, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna nerf it, and it's gonna be reworked in 4 years, and then we'll be like, hey, remember the time Renata got released? Yeah, that's crazy. We go on with our lives.
Oh, okay, we should also do another episode we should do is all the champion releases that were the worst, like that we hated the most.
God.
Like I
Were
remember
any of you guys around for release Xin Anybody?
No.
I wasn't
That was
around
hilarious. I played that game for release Xin. He could EQ you, two-shot you, and then EQ you again, and it was hilarious. He never died. He just like 2 or 3 shot you on release. I got my
the
first
only
pentakill
difference
on
is he
him.
doesn't get a reset now, right?
He doesn't get a reset.
Yeah.
Well, he never had a
still
reset.
two-shot
His
you.
cooldowns were so low.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
The only difference is cooldowns are longer.
Well, he resets
Yeah.
his cooldowns a bit, but he doesn't get a reset. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get a full reset on kill, but his cooldowns were so low, and like he did so much damage. Like you would build like Yomus and crit people, and they would just like poof. That was
Mhm.
really funny. And then his ultimate gave him like armor, and he just couldn't kill him. I remember those good times, guys. Good times.
That's funny.
Thanks for coming to memory lane with me. But yeah. What were we talking about?
Think about it. We're talking about how like the characters are ridiculous. I will say it's actually kind of relevant, that comment, because there are characters in our past of the game that were really, really ridiculous. You know, Lisa Kali is the only character who can. Oh, no, that's not true. Pantheon could also avoid turret shots, right, with her shroud. That was ridiculous, and it was left in for at least a month, maybe
No, a
longer.
year.
Oh,
A
it was
year? That was like a half.
No, it
over a
was like
year.
I think it was a few months.
No, where she could dodge turret shots, guys? Are you kidding me? Look at the patches. I promise you, it's about a year.
I don't
know.
banned for
remember.
a whole year-
I've
like,
I've
almost a whole year,
deleted it
bro.
from my memory.
I could believe you. I just don't want to believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam.
It got released around like MSI like 2017 or 2018 with Aurelia and Silas all around that same time, and it was banned basically the entire year, and partway through the next year they removed it. So it was like basically a year.
Yeah.
I remember it. So because I played it a lot.
I was abusing it.
I did.
It was a
Hard
good
of you.
time that year.
I built full tank too. That was not fair.
It's like I remember those days.
You would know the date the
Yeah.
best out of all of us, because I never touched that. I was like, no,
Full
thank you.
tank, baby.
Oh.
but-
Hextech Gunblade, full tank. You just one shot and everybody. They can't even look at you. It's great.
What I'm saying is like I think that Riot did used to do that too. You know, there's like quite a few releases that were pretty problematic. I think right now the problem is there are some fundamentally unbalanceable kits that are being thrown in, and that's
Yeah.
where I draw the line, right? Like Akshan
Yeah.
or however you say his name. Like it's
Trash can,
not okay.
yes.
It's definitely not okay, and there's not a world where it'll be okay. His numbers will either be crap and he won't be playable, or his numbers
Yeah,
will be
he's got
just good enough and you can cheese with them. And I'm like, why is this a character? Why are we in a world like this? And they
Why
keep
is Yumi a
putting
character,
more.
man? Get
Yumi
out
is
of my
also a
game.
problem. Gives 100 AD for being AFK. I went to get my food delivery once, and I was playing Yumi, and we won. Like I just like won the game without being there for it was an ARAM, to be fair. But I was just getting the AD carry 100 AD, and I wasn't on the keyboard. Like that's not okay. There's only Heroes of the Storm had a mechanic like that where you could like play 3 people as one character. But even then, you had to be kind of active to do something. So I don't
Some
know.
good
I'm
stuff,
just.
Oh yeah, I love it. Getting free LP, doing absolutely nothing. That's my favorite thing. Just
Yeah.
go top
We're
lane,
like
coin flip.
we're so close to like just like Yumi 2.0, and that's
Yeah.
terrifying to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Riot needs someone they need to hire someone to walk in and be like, stop. What the hell do you think you're doing? This is not okay.
That's what makes me kind of like scratching my head, because I'm like, they've got to know this, right? Like this is not like, I mean, they should know that we all think that they're just overloading new kits like all the time. Like,
Oh, but they don't think their kits are overloaded though.
do they really
They
not?
explicitly
No,
said
they
that.
do. It's a design philosophy. They don't think it. They don't say it on YouTube or whatever. But 100% they're doing this on purpose. They're pushing it
Got to
farther
be.
and farther because that's how
Yes.
they think they're gonna make more money, make more skins, keep all the Zoomer kids locked into the game, right? Like
Get
that.
Jojopyun to join League.
It's 110% intentional that they're going
In
crazy. Like
10
just look at
years,
Zeri.
I mean,
in
it
10
has.
years, I'll be phased out of this game because all the champions will require like super mechanical abilities.
Yeah,
And I'll be
Zeri
like,
and stuff is
no.
gonna be like the easiest champion in the game.
Yeah. So I'll be phased out of that game. But speaking of champions, let's talk about Zeri because she will be enabled in Pro. And what are your thoughts in general, like in your games? I know for me, I'll just say that in my low elo, silver and gold, I don't see her doing that well. But I've heard otherwise in higher elo. So let me hear your thoughts about the champ and the implications she might have in pro play.
So I mean, I may as well go first. Honestly, I don't think she's that good.
Okay.
Just right out the gate, I'll say that. Her laning phase is terrible. Her late game is not much better.
Can I let me ask you a question real quick? Are you saying she's not good in bot lane or mid? Because I have seen her in both.
I have not played her in solo lane. I'm speaking off of bot lane because that's what I have I have played and seen the most.
Okay, cool.
I can't speak for solo lane. I'm not a solo laner, so I don't know if she's oppressive. I don't know if her laning is just as bad as it is bot lane. But bot lane, you're very low range, you're very low damage. You can escape ganks well. That's about how good your laning phase is. Obviously, if you get a good support matchup, it doesn't really matter. But if you're gonna have a better support matchup, why would you not just pick a better champion? Her W is just terrible. It barely slows. It does no damage. It's not worth casting. It's not worth the mana, in my opinion. I personally think she's going to get a numbers change so that she's not doing all these bruiser items. I don't think that's going to stay. I think they're going to try and make her into a Kraken Slayer champion. I think that was their intention, but I could be wrong.
Yep, she's already gotten some changes to sort of go in that direction. They removed some like Tiamat Hurricane-esque interactions, and they lowered her numbers, and they gave her some crit modification. But I actually think I have a different opinion. Not that she's good, but that she is in edge cases absolutely broken. Like there's some champions that obviously will just never be able to touch her. There are some instances where if you put a Yumi or a Karma or have a Lulu support that can further give her shields and move speed. Shields is the important one because that interacts with her passive. That she can be situationally broken, as in it's non-interactive if you're good enough. You don't even have to be that good at the game because you're not even A-clicking right. You can move incredibly fast and have an auto attack skill shot, and it's on a very low cooldown. Doesn't cost any mana. Like it has the potential, and that's why how you see those highlight clips to be very, very uninteractively broken in some situations. And there are other champions that fall into that category, but I don't know if it's to the extent that Zeri does it, where it's like you don't even get a lick of damage off her. She always has a shield, and she has uncapped movement speed if you keep landing her ultimate passive charges or whatever. So I personally am worried about that this champion exists. I 100% agree. For majority of player base, she's not very good, right? But as people get better and she gets slowly changed and updated, and until Riot, they always do this with their new champions, right? It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen immediately. Some champions are immediately broken. Some champs kind of don't do anything for a little bit or are really bad. They get buffed or they get changed or nerfed, yada yada yada. But eventually, they do see the day of light. They always do, and I'm so scared of that day when you can't land a single skill shot on her. All your point and click does no damage because she has so many shields, and she kills you and you can't even touch her. Because that is the nightmare scenario that you see in those highlight clips. And it's honestly, considering the meta, there's only a few champions that really mess with her, right? Because like her E gets just such a low cooldown. You can have so many of them, and then they do so much damage. Very scary that exists. Very scary.
I completely agree, but at the same time, I think the redeeming factor is she has such a weak early game that it is very abusable. I mean, even we've all seen the TL Yeon Zeri clip, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I have.
We've
yes.
all seen that one
Yeah.
where he's in his ult for like 2 minutes and does 0 damage, but he's moving at 2,000 movement speed.
Yeah.
That basically sums up a lot of Zeri right now, and obviously I think it's gonna be changed to a point where she does do damage. I do think the whole shield interaction will be changed. I think that's the most broken part of her kit. Just as
Yeah.
Mitchell said, she just permanently has a shield. That's not really okay. I think the whole going fast part is okay. I think it needs a cap.
Yep, it 100% needs a cap. That is
It needs
ridiculous.
I think my guess what's going to happen is the shield's going to be adjusted, her movement speed's going to get a cap, and they're going to do something to probably lower the range of her Q a little bit. Because I think she should be sort of like Jin, where Jin goes very fast, but he doesn't go impossibly fast.
Well, he has a limit on how many attacks he can make, right? Like Zeri's
but
can
Jin,
do a lot
Jin's
of attacks.
do a lot of damage. Zeri's don't.
Yeah.
Zeri has a lot of spells and a little damage. Jin has little spells and a lot of damage.
The thing that worries me though is like the uncapped part is that her ultimate does not run out. I think it should run out. I think
I agree.
if it's been going for like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
something's wrong with the game. Obviously, it's never gonna go 5 minutes, right? Because people are gonna die. But like sometimes that thing is going on for like 2 minutes, and it's like, damn, he's got 2K move speed, and he's still full health. Some things need to be changed, removed, so it's healthier. I think also you just shouldn't have a champion that has that bad of an early game. It's actually awful. You can't trade with anybody because you can't shoot them through minion waves, and you're so slow. So.
I mean, I think it's okay if she scales a lot better. I think hyper scaling champions should have an atrocious early game, but her, like I said, her late game is really not that great.
So I'm just gonna jump in here. I've been watching my friend who's been challenger rank 40 in AD carry. He just plays it every game blind, and like he does fine in lane. And he's like destroying games. So I trust your opinion too, but I was literally just sitting there watching. And I'm like, what is this? This was like post nerf, by the way. And I was like, this is stupid. And he's like, yeah, it's really broken. As like, I think it's largely like people in solo queue can't punish it enough. If you also are good enough, it kind of reminds me of release Yasuo, or if Lee Sin was released today, right? People mechanically just don't have the hands for it. So the issue with the design is like, yeah, if you really have the hands, yeah, it's really strong. But for the regular average Joe, they're going to say this character's crap, and I don't like that design. I do think they should be high scale characters in the game, but there shouldn't be like move at Mach 2 characters in the game. It's just there's a reason why they nerfed Jin, despite the fact that he only has 4 bullets in the chamber. And yeah, she doesn't do that much damage, but she can do quite a bit because she's reliable at it. Adds up. There's no counterplay from the other people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was hearing too, like in some high elos. Also in mid lane, I don't know how good she is in mid lane, but I wouldn't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it be good. I don't think it is good myself. Mitchell thinks that orange thing or whatever is good. He forgot. He thought you guys are just listening. He didn't know that there's also a video that is out here. But let's talk about. So, do you guys think we'll see it in this week forward in pro play? Because Kevin, if your friend who's like challenger, like, I mean, and obviously pro players are mechanically gifted. Is this something that you could potentially see, or we could potentially see this week?
Well, as I said before, unfortunately, you are right that the laning's not great if they can punish it. And pro play is like the place for that kind of play, right? So in that sense, I do think it will be played, but it was probably going to be a later draft. Like you pick something that's not like somebody like gets the notion to pick Ezreal or something.
Yeah,
then
right.
You will see it like insta locked. But I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily that strong. Well, I guess top TPs can't come down though, so this is the meta for it, and it was released during that patch. Weird, kind of a coincidence. I think that it is a very good character. I do like watching it. It's really cool to watch. I can't imagine playing against it, to be honest. I haven't seen one in my games, but I was like, you just can't. Some characters projectiles can't catch up in time. That's ridiculous.
No, they can't. They can't.
Yeah.
And by the time you're an ADC, you auto them. You're like, I'm gonna get this like 1,000 damage crit. Oh, she's gotten like 14 shields since then. Crit is flying in the air. Yeah, no, I have a hot take. Uh, I mean, this is stupid. I don't know. I feel like Bwipo's gonna play it in top lane. He just plays random crap. If he even comes up against a remotely weak lane, he's just say, "Screw it, I'm gonna play it."
I will be laughing so hard if he actually
Yeah.
does pick it, man. That
And
would
he's just like,
be.
"Ayla, you're playing Lulu. I'm sorry, Hansama. I am borrowing your shield bot.
Oh
I
So are we
man.
will
just
play
coming to
Zeri
the
top."
are we just like deciding that Bwipo is Jizuke but better in top
A
Yeah,
lane?
really good
I think so.
Jizuke,
Really
Is
good
that
but
is that
like
Jizuke.
what we're saying?
not even like a really
Jizuke
good
on his good
Jizuke.
days.
Jizuke is a bad Bwipo. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair.
Yeah.
Budget
I
Bwipo.
also think I
yeah.
also think Bwipo, although it looks like just he only has a go button, I actually do think he has a brain that thinks about
No, he
like
definitely has
He,
a brain.
he
yeah.
100% does.
I
Definitely
think
That's
does.
what
Yeah.
Jizuke just see champion, go like go and just go whatever and try to outplay everything. I have no
Dive
clue
Zoe
where
is
everybody
Lucian.
else is. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that is the difference. All right, well let's talk about. We won't talk about all the games because there's so many games. This weekend is going to be the official start. I don't even know if all the rosters are actually going to be in at this time, but one matchup I did want to highlight and get your predictions and thoughts on is the Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves matchup. And they didn't play in lock-in, and I'm really excited, and I hope that Team Liquid lets Hans and Core JJ play because I would love to see this matchup against FBI and Huhi, just because they've been the bot lane, defending champs bot lane with FBI and Huhi. So, give me your thoughts on the matchup and give me your predictions, your thoughts on who's going to win that.
I mean, one team, one lock-in, one team didn't make it to playoffs. I mean, it's really hard. Like I know I'm the one who said 100 Thieves was gonna win it all.
You
It's
did.
really hard to justify that right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I thought what I thought. Yeah, I just don't see it right now.
Yep. I definitely think Team Liquid's gonna win. I unfortunately don't think we are going to see Core Hansama unless Core gets his green card, because they have to keep Bwipo in. I mean, Bwipo's gonna clap someday, let's be real, but they need Bwipo in there to win games right now, it
Mm.
feels like, especially against any team that they find competitive. I think they're gonna play Bwipo. So the lineup we saw is probably gonna be the lineup that we saw in finals, unless Core JJ's green card comes in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be close. If it is, then I'm kudos to 100 Thieves. They brought it back and they didn't mental boom from lock-in. But the year just started, so hopefully they can keep it together and at least look competitive. But
Yeah.
yeah, I expect a pretty fat clap here from Team Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see Cortez' green card like the final card of Exodia. Like once they get that, they just instant win.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll give 100 Thieves some credit. They did get clapped, but like Liquid almost got clapped too by the same team. It's not like
True.
there was definitely a world where Liquid was 3-2. They might not lose, but they were definitely getting close. And I think it's almost certain. I think it's hard to argue that 100 Thieves prepared more than Liquid, right? They definitely prepared less. So
Yeah.
that being said, like I think Dig might be legit, first of all, and also at least legit as a threat, Dark
Mhm.
Horse. And then as a result, like 100 Days prepped like nothing for Dig. They definitely prep for the next stage. So I think it's going to be closer than we expect. That being said, like there's so much momentum in Liquid's core, and if this
Yeah.
was a best of 3, I would give one game to 100 Thieves, but no, I mean Liquid's gonna win.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think Liquid's definitely gonna win, but just a comment about Dignitas, right? They 2-0'd 100 Thieves, and then they did take a game off of Team Liquid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those games, I'm pretty sure River was playing J4, and I guarantee you that that is a big reason why. Not only is River playing really well on the J4, okay, he actually wasn't playing perfectly great, like, but he was very proactive and he got away with a lot of things, and I feel like it's just been that J4 has been such a strong pick ever since last year. JJ was playing it every single game, the EDG world champion jungler. So um, the fact that I don't think that Dig's gonna look the same if they don't get J4. I don't know how good that team will actually be, because I actually think the rest, like, their team is just not that good in my opinion. I don't know. Like, Neo is supposed to be like their kind of like shining star, really good. And I feel like Neo isn't even that good sometimes. Blue,
Yeah.
I honestly still think is not very good, and then Fake God is obviously having it rough. So
Yeah.
I actually, unfortunately, with all their lacking success, don't have a lot of faith in
I
Dignitas.
looked it up. You were right. Actually, all the games they won, the 2 against 100 Thieves and the 1 they won against Team Liquid, he did have J4 every time. And then it was banned from him or picked away, and he lost those games. So, yeah, you probably have some merit there because that pick is pretty strong. And, again, River's good, too. I mean, he didn't play the
River's
best,
pretty
but
good.
he's
He's the
pretty
best
good
player
as
on his
well.
team.
So, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I do think Dig is a dark horse, man. I think they can be, I mean, to what extent, I don't know, but they've shown under the right circumstances, if they get the right champion, they can do something. So it will be interesting to see that. I also think Team Liquid's gonna win this. Again, for the reasons that we mentioned, like with 100 Thieves not having that identity right now because of that TP strat takeaway. Like, I know that's not everything, but it is. Where do you find like what is your identity right now? Like, is it closer carrying or what? And I just feel like they looked a little lost and they did mental boom. So they've had a week to dust it off. We'll see if it happens, but I just think that Team Liquid is just on a momentum right now. Like, they're just on fire.
Stop playing Viego. Everybody, stop playing Viego. It's garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know why people.
And
are doing
Closer
it.
loves
Stop
that
playing it.
champion. So
Yep. It had such a terrible win rate, and it's not even that good. It's only good if you can reset like 3 times. Otherwise, it's like so whatever.
Did you see that game? I think it was I forget who was Viego, but Team Liquid, I believe, Santorin had J4, and Viego wasn't able to click the corpse because
that was
like,
inspired.
yeah.
Yeah, that was inspired. Yeah.
that
game one,
was
I think.
pretty funny.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, that sucks. What a tilter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Well,
is unfortunate,
is there anything else you guys want to talk about this upcoming week before we wrap up? Anything you think we might see? Go ahead.
Gilioto said that LCS is more competitive than LEC. He's also said that LEC is more competitive than LCS when he was coaching there. But the point is, like, it's
So
kind of a
basically,
talking point. Yeah, I do want to say, like, more competitive doesn't necessarily mean our best team is better than their best team, but the level of play here on average might be higher, and there might be some merit to that, only in the sense that so many of the elite teams in LEC just got gutted.
yes.
And like Mad, Rogue, like Rogue is 7-0, but like I feel like that roster still, I'm not like super sold on that roster. Or are they like 6-0, whatever they are? I'm not super sold on their roster. Vitality brought it back a bit, but like there's just like a lot of these like disjointed rosters and superstars just like sitting on benches or like in NA now. So we might not be there yet, but it could be worth talking about. I think Liquid could do some damage if they were in LEC.
Yeah. Go NA.
I wanted to mention we kind of skipped over some important parts of patch 12.2.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, because that will be live this week, so definitely want to highlight those things. Go ahead.
Yeah. So number 1, Ari rework.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's 12.3.
I don't.
Oh, is it 12.3?
That's 12.3. That hasn't come out yet.
Is it 12.3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong notes. My bad. Okay, scratch that. Janna buffs.
Yeah,
Champions
Janna is the big one.
Yes.
even just as a support instead of a roaming top laner.
Glacial's bugged on the patch too. So.
Yeah. You get hit by one Janna Q and you lose lane. It's unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
You just cry. I'm not even exaggerating for dramatic effect. It is ungodly painful. It sucks. Especially when every AD carry that's meta is immobile.
Yeah.
Senna. Champions also extremely broken. And the other thing that would go hand in hand with it would be the new Rengar change, where he can now jump from camouflage. So we might see Senna Rengar bot lane. That
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
But yeah, Senna's 100% going to be pick or ban. She was already pretty high presence. It's going to be close to, if not 100%.
Yeah, she will be. Because
guaranteed,
she's banned in the finals.
Even in 12-3, it's going to be the same thing. Because oh no, we have to play fasting every game instead of just regular AD carry, whatever. And maybe Veigar. He got very big buffs to his Q. 1 second down, it's now a very low cooldown. are a much lower cooldown, 1 second every rank, and there was one other thing that he got. Let me find it. He gets an extra stack when killing large minions and monsters.
Yes, we're gonna have big boy Veigar coming in to LCS.
Pretty sure he was already played in LPL.
We're gonna see Janna, Veigar bot lane.
Janna, Veigar bot lane.
Or we're gonna see Veigar Senna.
Oh,
I'm never ganking bot in my life if I see that. I'm just like,
bot lane's dead to me if that happens.
I'm never going there. If I even look at Veigar and Janna, I just die.
We're already seeing Karthus. I expect to see
That's
Veigar.
True. You're making a good point. I
don't like
those words you're saying.
With
I would rather
C9.
gank Karthus than
hey man,
Veigar.
I've experienced this before, Kevin. I'm in just as much pain as you are.
Oh god, yeah. I'm just gonna go hang out in top lane. I'm gonna play Vlad, and I will see you guys in 25 minutes.
I've been spamming Vlad. I like Vlad a
The
lot.
champ is broken right now.
Yeah, I love that champ.
Super OP right now.
Really good.
Only in solo queue though, because you can't play in pro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too easy.
Anything else for the week? Did you have anything? Any final comments, Mitchell?
Team Liquid's gonna win Worlds, guys.
Dude, I believe it. It is not too early. I'm definitely not overreacting.
No, it's not.
I can't wait for Team Liquid to get first seed and then go out in group stage again.
Yeah.
They got first seed.
Not this time.
So Team Liquid's gonna win Worlds, guys. They're gonna play Faker in the finals. It's gonna be a grueling 3-2. Faker's gonna be at our Nexus. Bjergsen's gonna be at their Nexus. The crowd goes wild.
And then
Faker throws his
new champion that just got released and steals the Nexus kill from Faker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Faker freaking throws Coma out the window, man. It's gonna be a banger. I can't wait, guys.
Dude, what kind of redemption? Not even redemption, but what kind of like victory that would be if Bjergsen won Worlds and beat Faker?
Yeah.
Wow.
Faker. Yeah.
That would be
America.
nuts. America. He's not even
he's not
even native to America, but I'll take him. He's ours.
Team is. What do you
I know none of that team is.
Not a single person from there.
I don't even care. I don't even care anymore, daggone it. They're NA.
NA.
Let's go.
NA.
Budget Worlds.
Budget Worlds. Budget.
NA.
All right. I loved how this podcast ended. So that's gonna let's go. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us here. Thanks again to my awesome co-hosts Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair. Thank you to all of you who are listening or watching on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscription and notification button. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at questions@theallinpodcast.gg or tweet us at theallinpodcast. But until next time, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.